thank you very much for coming. I am your Regent Spiv, and for the first crafty chat of the term, we have a fireside chat with a very talented craftsperson that you may have met or even purchased something from at Kingdom Koro. Welcome, welcome, Kade Lunaris.
Hey, thanks. Not only do I vend, I do have a picture if anybody needs to put a name to a face. You have probably either been shot by me or seen me wearing something that's obnoxiously pink. I fielded with the crossbow. I've actually been to a couple Winter's Edge events, so you may have seen me around.
That is definitely two sides of the coin, but why not? Why not both? Why can't you shoot people and wear obnoxious amounts of pink?
Yes, absolutely.
Well, as much as I would love to go into a bunch of detail about the shooting part, I am I am here in a regent capacity, and I am showing you off to my kingdom for your crafty things. So made a post on Winner's Edge's Facebook. Now, I do not have a Facebook, probably much to the chagrin of many people, but my wife showed me this and was like, hey, look at this. And it was the Cade Has Wares If You Have Coin post dated September 13th. I took one look at it and looked at the stuff because I'd already put, um, uh, my bid in for or to run for regent, and I was just making plans in my head, and I was like, oh yeah, I want to talk to all these crafters, and I saw that post and I was like, that is someone I want to talk to.
Thank you. Um, yeah, I kind of glossed over who I am. Um, I am not from your kingdom. I'm from Rising Winds, and I've been kind of everywhere. I started Imcard in Orem, Utah, of all places, in Ironhold. If anyone's been there, we get occasionally people. And so what you saw was my storefront, basically my online ad. I travel North America, anywhere from like Canada to Florida and everywhere in between, and I sell things that I make. I
Uh,
sell. Oh, go ahead.
oh, I didn't have much to add other than wow, did not know you were that well traveled.
Oh yeah, it's one of my goals to make it to every kingdom, at least in the contiguous United States. I do I formulate my shop kind of like a co-op. A majority of the stuff is things that I make, but I will bring on other crafters that maybe don't have enough goods to make a full booth, or somewhere that I struggle, such as leatherworking. I usually give people that make belt frogs a spot in my booth when I travel, just because so many people ask me for belt frogs, and I don't want to make them. So I operate like a co-op. If you saw on my little storefront thing, I also host Bluegrass Bofferworks, which, if you've met him, is Watt. It's his storefront. He sells all of the like raw foam goods, the tubes, the shields. He doesn't really have enough goods to have an entire booth, so I just kind of adopt him into mine. And it helps because I am more of the creative side, so he can sell the shields, I can paint the shields, I can do all these fancy covers on them. My mission as a crafter is I want to teach people until I'm out of a job. Like, I want to share my wisdom. I want to talk about what I make. If you come sit with me in my booth, I will tell you exactly what I do. Nothing is confidential. I have YouTube videos that talk about all these things. And then also is making things affordable. A lot of people will walk into my booth and go, wow, everything's really cheap. I want LARP to be accessible. I don't want a sword to be a $200 purchase because that's a car payment. I want people to be able to walk into my booth and be able to play Amcard after they walk out. Also, lastly,
Understandable.
is I our sport uses so many forever plastics, and I want to reduce the impact of our sport. One of the last events I went to at Winter's Edge, it wasn't this previous August, but the August before that, you may have recognized me as the person that handed out like 20 pillowcases full of foam and gave everybody rocks and then just disappeared. That was all just scrap foam from random things I had made, and I didn't want it to go into the landfill, so here's some weapons.
You gotta love the reduce, reuse part of that. That's very, very green thinking. How long have you been involved in Amtgard?
So I started in 2018 and I made it a couple of weeks and I really messed up my knee. And then I came back 2022, I think. So about 3 years.
Okay. Then how long have you been just making things, whether it be Amtgard related or not?
I have been a crafty person basically my entire life. I have knitted my entire life. I learned how to crochet. Sewing is something that I say learned, but I didn't really learn because I didn't know how to actually do it properly. Painting, drawing, all of those things, and then when I found AmpGuard, it was amazing because suddenly I had a creative outlet and I had people that would pay me for it.
Absolutely.
So it developed over time because people saw that I was crafty and I was making these things and I was making these attempts, and they'd go, "Here's $20, make it into something, please. I trust you." And I'd be like, "Okay, cool, I'll make it." Or like, "Here's my shield cover. Can you paint it?" I, I'll try.
But it seems like there haven't been too many complaints. I would assume, otherwise you would not have a masterhood, right?
Yes, yes, yes. I have. So I was going to talk about Master Garber path. So this, I started sewing when I was like 10-ish. Um, I went to a Renaissance fair and I was absolutely in love and I needed my own costume. And so my mother, upon hearing that I wanted to learn how to sew, gave me a sewing encyclopedia and her sewing machine and put me in a room and said, "Figure it out. Don't ask me questions." And so I was able to figure it out enough to put things together. But like I said previously, I didn't really know how to sew. A lot of sewing encyclopedias assume that you know how to sew in a straight line and you know how to backstitch and all that stuff, um, which I didn't. And my sewing machine was in dire need of a tune-up. I'd sew for like 2, 3 inches. The string would break because something happened, and I'd start sewing again without backstitching. So basically, when I threw this stuff in the washing machine, it absolutely just fell apart. But I was able to make things, and so this is one of the first I would consider garb related things I made. I was probably like 13, 12, 13. I had such a bad time with that horrible sewing machine that I basically swore off sewing. I did it, I put it together, I hated it. Swore off sewing. Um, it was funny, when I joined AmpCard, I decided it was going to be my number one goal to make it to knighthood without getting a single garber. That didn't happen. So, I ended up getting really sick right when I first started AmGuard, and so I started knitting just as a way to cope with it, being inside and not being able to go hang out with my friends. And so I decided, kind of as a, wouldn't it be funny if I decided to knit myself a tunic? And so I knit myself this tunic and the hood, um, and it was so thick that it was like 5 pounds worth of yarn. But I entered it into a Kingdom Dragon Master, and our regent was so flabbergasted that someone would knit an entire tunic that he gave me my first through third garber. And I wasn't expecting it because I didn't think this was going to be a garber, and I was also a baby larper. Um, and I had like a moment of, oh no, I've ruined it. I've already failed. I decided I've already failed my mission of making it to knighthood without getting a single garber. I might as well give it a shot. Oh, I made my dog a tunic too. Anyway, that's just a little side piece. My little dog.
Oh,
I I made some cloaks just because they're basically straight lines, and that's what I knew how to do. Um, so I made the one on the right, the red one first, and then I made, kind of as another haha, would it be funny if I made a cloak out of ripstop to make it a raincoat? So I made the rain cloak, and then I ended up getting my fourth and fifth garber through Kingdom for that one. And then
wow.
This was my first ever tunic attempt, and I wanted to bring this one up. I didn't get anything for it because it was a kind of rough tunic, but it was an important thing in my garbing journey because I gave it to the person who asked for it. It was a gift. And when he put it on at park, somebody who I don't blame for what they said, I assume they were trying to be helpful and they didn't communicate it very well. They just absolutely verbally eviscerated it, pointed out all the mistakes in it, everything that I did wrong. And to be honest, I cried. It made me swear off garbing again. And so I wanted to put this in here just so people are aware that the comments you make can really affect somebody on their journey. Like I ended up being a master garber, and one person saying mean things about my stuff derailed me for years. But anyway,
Uh,
soapbox
y- y-
over.
no, I that's not the first time that I've heard something similar to things like that, and normally it's in connection to Dragon Master tournaments that, oh, these judges, said all these mean things and whatnot. So it just seems like the crafting side of our sport has, you know, a, a type of brutality that is maybe not even found on the physical side of the sport
Oh,
because you
absolutely.
because you can, I mean, you can tell people, oh, you suck at swinging stick, but that's about as far as it goes, like, because all of that criticism, helps you get better. But if you just get an art project torn down, then it might have lasting effects, like you said. That's really unfortunate. I'm sorry to hear.
Yeah, I have like some closing advice that I was going to bring up that it basically talks about that is the way AMCARD is formulated is that our arts and sciences, we're just asking to be judged and eviscerated. And I'm not sure there's a better way to do that, but I don't like it. Um, and we're also asking people who are not experts in apples or oranges to compare apples to oranges. And it's a messy system.
Oh, without a doubt. I'm learning that the hard way, let's
Mm-hmm.
say.
Yup.
Learning that the hard way. But I mean, I can't speak for Rising Winds, but I know that Winter's Edge has quite a few very talented crafters and folks that are seasoned Dragon Master competitors and judges that like to light the path there.
I
Yeah, the
I was like playing Amcard for probably 2 months, and I won a Grand Duchy Dragon Master, which is basically like a principality outside of the Rising Winds. And I had multiple people come up and tell me that I did not deserve to win, and that's it's horrible. People are so mean.
yeah, absolutely.
But
They
my
told you that to your face?
yes, multiple people.
Rude.
People are going to be absolutely brutal on a crafting journey. And so the best you can really do, I have two pieces of wisdom. Building a network of people that you can trust to both hype you up and talk you down to reality when you're being dumb or you need a little bit of an ego check. And then the other one is don't accept criticism from people you wouldn't swap places with. So if somebody who has never picked up a sewing machine tells you your tunic is awful, you could probably just file that under, I don't mind. But if somebody who makes beautiful tunics gives you advice or gives you criticism, maybe listen to it. Um, and you can kind of you can put that in any part of Amgard. If a horrible leader tells you you're a horrible leader, you probably just ignore that. But if somebody you really look up to as a leader tells you that you need to work on it, put a little bit more effort into that.
Very, very sound advice. Absolutely. So let's see. In the previous slide, you showed what'd you say about your fourth and fifth.
Yes.
So,
So we've got I this is a couple years later after I finally decided that I wanted to start learning how to garb again. I decided I was going to learn how to make hoods, which was an idea. They're kind of hard if you only know how to sew in a straight line. Um, and I basically just sat down and made hood after hood after hood after hood until I could make a hood really fast and really solid. So this was the first hood I ever made. Um, and then we get to me remaking the pattern that I made as a kid. I considered it like a personal conquest. It was a goal. It was like, I want to make this pattern when I actually know how to sew and Um, I can make something that can hold up in the washing machine and I can be proud of. So I went and I hunt down the pattern that I made as a kid and I put together this and this is what I got I entered it into a Grand Duchy tournament. Ended up getting judge's choice or something like that. High point, I don't remember. And that's what I got my seventh. So far I've gone 3, 5, 7. Um and by this I was making much more garb, so I received my seventh for this and also all of the things that I had made. I think there I put another picture of something else I had made. Oh, I crocheted this. This was the other thing I got my seventh for. Is this hoodie that I entered into the Dragon Master.
oh, is the entire thing there crocheted or just the what appear to be the sunflower parts that I'm seeing there?
It's just the sunflowers. I cut
Oh
the sleeves
wow.
off a hoodie and then put the sunflowers on it. It's not the most complex thing. If anybody in the audience crochets, they're gonna be like, "Oh, that's so easy." But it looks cool, which is like 50% of winning a Dragon Master.
Very true. Very true.
Okay, and so I realized like 4 days before I Kingdom Dragon Master that I probably should enter it. And so I reworked the corset from the previous pattern that I did, and then I just kind of made something up. I wanted the tulip sleeves, and I thrifted these um, tablecloths that I thought would make a really cute skirt. And just put this together, entered it, and I won the Kingdom Dragon Master with it. And that's I received my ninth for that and everything prior. I didn't take any closer pictures, and I didn't want to dig it out of the closet, but um, I took insane amounts of time doing all of this, um, all the hemming, to the point that like people were going around going, "Oh my goodness, look at this! It's like millimeters. It's beautiful." And I was really proud of that. So it doesn't look all that impressive from far away, but it was in the little details of the little stitches, and everything was like exact, and I really paid attention to detail.
Oh, absolutely. And the details are sometimes what can make or break. That is quite a lovely piece. Now, in your kingdom, how many competitors would you say on average there would be in a Dragon Master?
For this one, I think there was 25.
Oh
Um,
wow.
and that's about on par with what that Grand Duchy Dragon Master was as well. Um, and then for my Masterhood, because we go ninth Masterhood in Rising Winds, I did this, which was like a bridal style armor dress. And this one was, I don't remember how many entrants. I think it was 40. I ended up getting the high point, the best in show. And it was, I did a tulle and satin skirt. I did all the corset work, all the boning. Um, and then Uh, like all of the flowers are done by hand. I was sitting there stitching for ages. I put probably 110 hours of work into this, just sitting there stitching, and earned so much respect for people who sell bridal dresses. And Now I realize why they're tens of thousands of dollars.
Without a doubt. That is that is gorgeous. Wow.
I I had a really awful experience if I was setting it up for the Dragon Master and I accidentally um, put a hole through the tool in the skirt and spent like 20 minutes trying to figure out how to hide it. And none of the judges saw it, so that was great. But yeah,
Fantastic.
Sparkles wanted to see the flowers. They're all embroidery on tulle that I cut out with a soldering iron, and then the flowers are satin.
Absolutely. Yes, it does very much seem like you have someone cheering for you in the audience. So who is Lady Sparkles Lunaris to you?
That is
I
my
noticed the
underbelt,
yep.
my baby child. Hi,
Well, it's good.
Sparkles.
But wow, that was quite a journey going from, what you'd shown in the previous couple of slides to that. Um, do you have any other things that you have handy that you'd like to share that maybe were like just fun projects or favorite things you've worked on or anything along those lines?
Yeah, and I did want to like put a timeline on my journey. Um, my time between trying to learn how to sew and producing my masterwork was about 6 or 7 months. So I definitely speed run. I don't know how to do that in past tense. Uh, I was sewing 40 to 50 hours a week, just going absolutely insane. So I received my, let's see, my sixth and seventh Garber in May 2024, and then uh, got the finished my masterwork in November of 2024. 6 months? No, 8 months. I don't know. Math.
Math. We're not here to talk about math. We're here to talk about pretty sewn things.
Yeah, I'm a carver. I'm not a mathematician. But anyway, some
Exactly.
of my favorite things I've made. I do a lot of free garb for people that can't afford it as a chance to practice things that I really want to try. And so this one, I put fabric behind and then applicate it to make it look like it was a skeleton. And then, sewed around the edges so that I could then rip it and make it look like when he's wearing it that you can see his insides and like arm bones over here. This is one of my favorite ones I've ever made.
Can you go maybe into the difference? Because I look at this and I see that yes, there was a lot of work put into that. To you put in a lot of effort to make it look shoddy when it
Yes.
is in fact not shoddy. And how does that compare to something that like actually is shoddy?
So I would kind of label it as controlled chaos. All of the parts that I didn't want to rip, I color matched thread and I stitched around it. Because if it was shoddy, every time you washed this or every time it caught on something, it would rip more and more, and you'd start to see like parts that I didn't put bones. Um, and so he's had this tunic for almost a year, and all of the little like I put rips in, you know, the sleeves, and I didn't put the back of this. The back of it has like five big claw marks across the shoulder. I stitched around the claw marks so that they don't rip anymore and they'll hold their shape.
Yeah, that is very cool. And we will have more time for questions at the end, but Jay from Neverwinter asks, "What kinds of fabric do you like to use for tunics?"
So I absolutely hate the texture of linen. I can acknowledge that it is a wonderful thing to work with and it's great for temperature regulation when it's hot. Uh, just for the affordability of garbing and making things that the normal amp garter can afford. I usually do 100% cotton. Um, I will thrift materials whenever I can, and then that's a shot in the dark, whatever that is. Um, the city near me has a creative reuse store, which is a thrift store like a Goodwill, where it's just craft supplies, and I will do my best to identify what something is, but I can't always control it. Usually it's some sort of synthetic cotton blend. Oh yeah,
Cotton
Sparkles.
sheets.
I made Sparkles a hood out of a baby blanket that I thrifted. I like thrifting like fake fur. People usually throw it in the washing machine way too hot and it gets kind of scrungly. And you just sit there with a dog slicker brush and brush it out, and it's good as new. And it's got the little, like, it looks aged, it doesn't look new. And people really like that for like cloaks and stuff.
So, just to make sure I heard you correctly, you just take like a dog brush to faux fur after the washing machine?
Yeah, so I don't know if you've ever had like a jacket that had a fur trim on it and it bunches up, it gets really plasticky feeling.
Mm-hmm.
If you take a wire slicker brush and brush it out like you would use for macrame to brush out macrame cord, you brush it with that and it makes it basically good as new.
Now, I guess before we get too far forward, I did see something that I wanted to flag because you had shown a slide where you had made a tunic for your dog, and then we got to talking, and I forgot to ask because I have to ask about pets. I was going to ask what your pet's name was, and I'm assuming that is the Luna that Sparkles called out earlier.
Yeah. Yeah, we didn't realize that naming her Luna would make her Luna Lunaris, but this is one of the tunics that I've made for
Fantastic.
her. Patterned it over one of her coats and put Velcro in the front and the bottom, and then there's a belt, so she looks like a little larper, and then there's an applique moon on it.
That is adorable.
I have a lot of free time,
Fantastic.
can you tell?
Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that at all. Um, so even though I guess since we're talking about a short period of time since you say you speed ran your path to masterhood, and even then you said you got that in 2024, so there's only even been a year since then. Um, Even in that time, has anything changed about your process that you'd like to highlight, like in terms of design or construction or technique or anything along those lines?
I would say, get on a tinier soapbox. Crafting is a series of paywalls. Sewing, like, you can only get so good until your sewing machine starts to hinder you and you have to upgrade your sewing machine to the new nicest thing, or your embroidery machine if you have a 4x4 uh, little embroidery area. Eventually that's going to start hindering you. And so I would say, as I've grown, I have been able to make those small investments over time, and that has expanded uh, like the quality of what I can offer without much extra effort from myself. I wouldn't say much has changed about my process. I still really like making the haha, wouldn't it be funny if I made this kind of stuff, those sorts of things. I
Right.
really and then, pressure's off when you get masterhood because you don't need to keep pushing yourself. There isn't the pressure there. Nobody's really watching you, and so I can just kind of go and make my own projects.
And then you're free to do as you please.
This was one of the first times I tried appliquing, and my friend wanted me to throw this in here as the magic harp. That was one of my favorite things. It looks a little scrungly, but it was one of my favorite things. And it mouth closes.
Oh, yeah, the the bag, that's great.
And this was a knighting gift that I made for Watt. It the park he founded is Sky Harbor, and that's the heraldry on it. And then it eventually became Stormbridge, so I put the Stormbridge heraldry hidden in the trim down at the front.
Oh, wow.
I forgot about this one. I This was another one of those haha, wouldn't it be funny? Uh, Dino print with a frocket and cuff sleeves. It makes me look like a pediatrician, but it was a fun project. Ah, too
I
far.
would love to see someone showing up at Park with a dino tunic. About the closest that I've ever gotten was when we had a kingdom champion named Avi, and he showed up as part of a kingdom visit one time, and he was wearing a Santa Claus tunic, and he was full of dad jokes, and I loved every second of it. Uh, but I have a penchant for kind of the off the cuff, sort of silly type things. That is great.
I love it. It's one of my favorites. It comes out when I need a pick me up.
So, have there been anything that in this journey of yours, and I guess it doesn't necessarily just apply to sewn things, but any crafty thing that you had enjoyed, but you just kind of got burnt out on, or that you don't enjoy as much anymore?
Um, I kind of hate to say it, but I have gotten kind of burned out on the things that I used to do for fun. Um, and I think joining in competitions really pushes for that. I really don't crochet anymore. I really don't knit anymore. I really wish I could get back into it. Unfortunately, with monetizing your hobbies, it's a really easy way to make you hate your hobbies. And so I've been really pushing myself to try to knit and crochet again. Get back to my crafting roots. Really, I did want to talk a little bit about like what got me started, um, which kind of leads into a different one of my soapboxes. Of I showed up to park and saw all these crafty things, and everyone told me, "Hey, we make all this stuff. We'll teach you how to make it." And when I was like, "Okay, I want to learn," nobody helped. I had so many questions. I was asking on the Facebook page. I was asking in the Discord. I was asking in person. Nobody would answer my questions. And I, rather than giving up because I'm stubborn, I decided to basically reinvent the wheel. I couldn't get anyone to answer what a core was or what foam we used, and so I just started like googling things that would work and ordering things and trying them and taking them to park and seeing if they would pass weapon checks. And so like my that has for me or it's laid a foundation for my philosophy as a crafter to be this person that will talk to anyone about anything. um, I was so frustrated by the fact that I couldn't get any of my questions answered. I want to be the person that I needed when I started AmpGuard. And I love talking to new players that have all of this like life and enthusiasm for the sport and just want to make cool stuff. I love when people come dump their new players in my booth. Let's just chat.
Absolutely. I'm sure that there are plenty of those that we could foist upon you.
Yeah, I will answer questions DM to me on Discord or Facebook. I might not be timely about it, but I will send you like a 5 paragraph response because AmpGuard is my special interest and I can't help it.
You know, when you said that, I had one person in mind, and I was going to be polite and not out him, but he outed himself. So now I'm going to talk about him. So my wife and I met a fellow from Radiant Valley named Fen, and he was brand new to the sport as of like September, because we were going 5 hours away to Buccaneers Respite. So, you know, Tennessee being long as it is, like I'm from the Nashville-ish area, and Buccaneers Respite is up in the Tri-Cities area. That's like an hour past Knoxville. And he shows up and is all excited about all of his stuff, and he was telling us about him and his wife like staying up really late to make armor. Like he showed up to like better than most people could say they come prepared on day one trying out a boffer sport because most people show up in like jeans and a t-shirt and go, hey, what's this? He
Hmm.
was ready to go. I love this guy. And we were like, hey, the kingdom event is coming up, you should come to that too. And he's like, okay, great. And then he shows up, so he outed himself saying, that was me at Koro, so I'm assuming you have met Fen as well.
I think so. Yeah, I had a instance at Bridge Wars Rising Winds, this previous event that I've ended at, that somebody just like walked somebody up to my booth, said, "Hey, this is such and such. He's been playing for like 2 weeks. Get him everything he needs." Like, okay, what's your budget? Let's get you a sword. Let's get you a shield. Let's get you sashes. Let's get you strips. And I love doing that. I love talking to new players, and we'd sit down and we talk about the process, about how you make it. And, if you have any questions, reach out to me. I have YouTube videos on how to do all this. I will video chat you and I'll show you how to do all of this. I want to educate people to the point that I don't have a job.
Well, then I guess let's get off on this tangent then. Then, if you, in a perfect world where you did that and you educated people to the point where you didn't have a job, then what would you do next?
I I would just continue on my haha, wouldn't it be funny? And I really, really want to make just really wacky siege engines. Like, I don't
Okay.
even know, but I I just want somebody to sigh and face palm when I like roll it out of a trailer.
I with this crowd, I don't think that is the reaction that you would get. I
Dang.
think you would get the excited, very meme look of like awe and I don't know what other words I could use there. I'm tripping over my own words here, but yeah, needless to say, like I think people would be more excited to see siege engines. Yeah, and I guess now we're coming around full circle because one of the things that I did want to talk to you about, since we're touching on the fighting aspect of Amtgard, and we got from siege engines to projectiles. Uh, Tell me a little bit about that, since your Facebook post said, "I am Kade, the traveling Khajiit merchant, master garber, and projectile enthusiast, hailing from the rising winds."
If you have ever spent a prolonged period of time with me, you would know that that is very true. I probably have pictures in here somewhere. Here's my questionably illegal throwy that I first made. So, how I got started on crafting in general was I was standing in line at a Dollar Tree and I was staring at a pair of flip flops and I went, that kind of looks like an axe. And so I bought the flip flops and they were foam and I put cloth tape over them. I cut this little piece out. Boom, throwy. And that's how I got started. Questionably legal because of that point, but nobody failed it. And so that really started my journey into, wow, no one's making throwies. I wonder why. And I've gone from this flip flop throwy to uh, one of my first attempts at making arrows. Like I talked about earlier, of like the power tools making things easier. I was making these on the balcony of my apartment, cutting them with scissors and a hot knife, and I made arrows that immediately fell apart. But I'm stubborn, so I took that as a challenge and have slowly gotten to the point that I think I surpassed 400 arrows that I've made this year, and
400.
yeah, it's excessive. It's very excessive. And so this is closer to what they look like now, where it's a CNC router table for the cones, and then I use a drill press for the pucks rather than cutting them with scissors, and then stress ball heads. Sparkle says,
Wow.
when I say they're Kate arrows at weapon check, they rarely check them because you're the standard of safety. Thank you.
Well, that
Uh,
is that is very good to know.
I I like I said, I really like learning. I really like getting better. And so I will make an arrow design, use it for a couple of months, take it apart, cut it in half, and see what I can do to improve. I also have what I lovingly refer to as my bin of shame, where it's arrows that I've confiscated from other people for being blatantly not safe. And I got their permission, or I paid them money for them, and I cut them in half to see what happened inside of them. And I have a Google form or a Google Doc somewhere where it's pictures of it, where if you ask me about arrow questions and I say don't use camp pad, I have like 5 images of a blunt punching its way through camp pad to back it up. Um, I really want to make amp guard safer, and I think amp guard style arrows are a little bit borderline on safety, and I want to make it safer. And then this is the current axe version that many of you bought while I was down there, um, and I experimented it to the point where I put non-hardening silicone in the heads, so it gets a little bit of like it's weighted in the head and it gets a much nicer throw. And these are cut on a nice, beautiful bandsaw instead of scissors in my apartment. And this is one of those haha, wouldn't it be funny? This is a heavy throwing ukulele. The problem with putting effort into things you make is that you don't want to field with them. This thing has never fielded. It comes out when I teach throwy classes and I go, look at what you can make. And then it goes back into storage.
That is a shame because the first thing that came to mind was how many people have you killed with it, and how embarrassing would it be to say, "Oh, I got killed with a flying ukulele."
I guess I need to bring it out sometime. The problem is also storing it. It's like I don't have a pouch big enough for a 17-inch ukulele. But yeah, and designs have progressed to the point where you would think if this was solid foam, it would be pretty heavy. I hollowed out the inside and also gave it a skeleton of like 6 pound foam, which is stronger than normal foam, just so it doesn't fall apart. But that's it's getting to the weeds of things. If anyone wants to talk about throwies, I have a handout. And um, for the cover, I did fabric because I had no idea what to do. Um, I just did a fabric face and then cloth tape, and then I painted the cloth tape for the frets. I actually ended up redoing the cover for this one because when I entered it into a Dragon Master, the judge hated it so much. Uh, I made it blue, and so it's blue cloth tape everywhere that it's brown now, but still haven't used it.
Okay. Still haven't used it. Wow. So then, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see there
No,
there
no,
was
no.
more. Oh, those
I,
daggers look pretty cool. Let's go into those.
these were also something that I sold. These were a request. Another one of those things of I have this um, kind of deal that if you have something new that I don't offer, I'll do it. I'll do it for cost of materials, and you let me know how it ages. And so this one was a project that somebody from I think Washington State requested, and so I was like, yeah, sure, I'll make throwing knives. They'll look like spoons though because of our rules, but they're kind of knives. And then he requested that they have holes in them so he could put them on like a bandolier.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, these are my favorite things to make. You can't tell by how enthusiastic I got. Projectile
No, that's
enthusiast.
yes, absolutely.
More examples of
That,
designs. These were a request as well. Somebody wanted a hammer, and these ones, these failed weapons check. They hurt. These were too heavy because I also weighted them. Yeah, I hit the reeve with them, and he went, no.
oh no.
I don't think. Oh yeah, and then
That
this one was a beer can I made for a friend. That's a small throwy that I just made out of sword foam and a stab tip on each end.
I like that pocket beer.
They have a thing where they walk around events handing out beers. They've come to Winter's Edge events. Uh, yeah, they hand out beers at events, so it's their thing. And so I made it so they could do that at during battle games.
It's fantastic. Now, how long had you been crafting or doing your projects before you decided to monetize it. You told that story of someone, your friend came up to you and gave you some money for it, but like, is that what kind of sparked your desire to be a more serious vendor, or where did
It,
it go from there?
it's all happened very slowly and very gradually to the point that I look at where I am now and I'm flabbergasted that I got here. Um, it it's funny and it's ironic because the the rhythm I kind of settled into was um, people would present me with the raw materials for like a sword or a shield and ask me to finish it, and that's how I learned how to make weapons. And it turned out that people were buying the raw materials from my significant other Watt and then paying me to finish them. And we didn't know each other. Eventually, I was introduced to him and realized, hey, I keep finishing your stuff and I keep painting your shields. How about we work together and you can just offer finished stuff and offer painted shields? And so we started working together. He does it much more casually, where like his goal is to pay for the travel to get to an event. So he might sell two, three, four shields, a couple of swords, and he calls that good. He doesn't set up a booth. He doesn't have any sort of like online presence. It's just he has swords, he has shields. And so we started working together on that. Um, and eventually I just started, enough people would come up to me and be like, hey, have you tried making, sashes? And I go, no, I haven't tried making sashes, but I'll make them. And I'd suddenly have a bunch of sashes, and people would come up to me and ask if I had made throwies. And so I'd offer throwies, and it expanded one item at a time to the point that probably about a year ago, realizing that, oh, I need to get a booth. And I think the first event I ever actually like booth vended the entire time full time was at a Winter's Edge event about a year and a half ago. Made so much more money just sitting there and selling stuff, and had so much fun just talking to people that I was absolutely hooked. Um, I could go play Amp Guard, I could go talk about my hobbies, and people will pay me for it. Amazing. And so I just started traveling. I started going to different kingdoms. I'd hop into everybody's discords and be like, hey, what does your kingdom need? Because every kingdom's different. Some kingdoms have people that are great at making arrows but not great at making swords, so I would go show up with a bag full of swords to those. Or when we went to Canada, Canada has outlawed a lot of the forever plastics that are illegal in the United States that we use for making weapons and all those things. So showing up with a bag of swords that's normal here is luxury there. And so just identifying what everybody needs, and it has grown to the point that I need a 15 by 20 setup to sell everything.
Oh, wow. That is, quite the dream you described of being able to play some Amp Guard and hang out with friends that you either have already made or are about to make, and then make some money. That sounds like the dream, right?
Yeah, and it's let me help a lot of people that wouldn't be able to afford to go to Amp events. Otherwise, it would just be like, hey, I'll pay for your ticket if you sit my booth for a couple hours, and it works out. Or, hey, sit my booth for a couple hours, and I'll give you a sword. Um, so not only has it helped me get to a lot of other Amp events, it's helped a lot of people. They wouldn't otherwise get to come to normal Kingdom events to go to Kingdom events.
And speaking of Kingdom events, is it safe to assume that you will be at our mid-rain here in February?
I'm gonna try. And you guys are usually like 50-50 on whether you allow vendors, so I usually wait until somebody like pops into my inbox and says, hey, you gonna be there?
Ah, well, I was also just kind of using that as a segue for those that don't know, because my guest Kade here is, um, also does work with our Scribal Guild, and you do have one of those things assigned.
I do. Have I started
So
working on it? No. But um, I had one more. little Pokeball throws. But anyway, so I did do quite a few scrolls for Winter's Edge. I think I did 4 this time around. But if you recognize any of these ones, um, I was trying to learn digital art, and my own kingdom wasn't giving me any scrolls. So I was like, hey neighbor, can I do some? And
Oh,
you
okay.
all you all were very very happy to host me.
Yep, I did see Sigan thank you for whatever it is that you made for her.
This one, we have a person at my park named Fig, and so every time someone saw me working on this, they'd be like, "Hey, you spelled his name wrong." It's like, it's not for him. This one was my personal favorite. I love Minecraft. I love making scrolls super duper personal. And the person that gave me all the information was like, he likes survival games. He likes Minecraft. So uh, sneaking. If anyone's not familiar with Minecraft, like to fight the warden, you basically have to sneak not to trigger him. And I was like, hey, that kind of does that. It correlates to assassins. But
That is super cool. I bet
yeah,
he loved that.
I I want to like hype up my friend real quick. Um, I've received my ninth dragon for like my 20 scrolls that I've pumped out recently. And my friend for my ninth dragon scroll put the award art in the award.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah, that's getting very meta on you. I love it.
Yeah, he received his master dragon at this event. Very well deserved, but I thought that was so cool.
Aside from the haha, wouldn't it be funny if sort of things, what else do you have lined up for the future?
um, so like I said, I just received my ninth dragon. Um, I've kind of accidentally ended up on the dragon path. It was never something that I anticipated, but figuring out what I'm gonna do for a masterwork is probably up there. Try to get a masterhood at some point. Um, like I mentioned before, I also want to try to vend at every kingdom in North America, so I'm going to be doing a lot of traveling. I got to make it out west, so I was hoping to make it to Salt Wars this next year, but we'll see. Um, and I've mentioned before that I have a YouTube channel. It's more of a winter project when the event season is over, and so I'm hoping to start updating with some more YouTube videos.
Ah, fantastic. And well, since you brought it up, do you want to go ahead and plug that?
Oh yeah, I am Kade Made LARP on YouTube. I just have basic videos on how to do the simple things that people ask me questions about, so I can hand them business cards and be like, "Hey, go look this up." I just had some notes on, imparting wisdom. Uh, some of it has been given as the conversation has gone. Like I talked about how, having tough skin and building that assembly of people that you can trust to advise you and bring you down to earth when you're being ridiculous. For everyone, something that's really helped me in not discouraging other people is realizing that advice given without permission is criticism. Like, you have to think about that one a little bit. If you walk up to somebody and just start spewing out how you would make their thing better, it's kind of you're pointing out that their thing is flawed. And so I would challenge you to, when you have that instinct to provide helpful feedback, to ask permission, because sometimes people just they're not having a great day, or they're not feeling good about their work, and they don't want to hear it. And we need to be aware that other people have feelings. It's a really brutal crafting world out there. Be nice to the little crafters, the baby crafters at your parks. When the new player shows up with a tunic that they've obviously made themselves, like, ask them questions about it. Be excited that they're trying the amp card. Um, your enthusiasm could be what spurs on the journey of a future master of the craft, or it could be the beginning of a really good friendship or a mentor relationship. And new players are the future of our game. and so we need to not forget them when it comes to crafting. I opened up to questions to my own Facebook and my own Discord just to figure out what people would be curious about. Um, and a lot of people wanted to hear my thoughts on award culture. And without getting into much of the politics and the nitty gritty of everything, remind yourself that deserving an award and receiving an award are typically two different timelines. Um, I've known lots of people that deserved their masterhood or deserved their paragon, and it doesn't say anything about their worth that they haven't received it yet. It's a flaw of the system. You may be deserving of your next award and you just haven't received it, and it isn't saying anything bad about you. It's just how the system works. And then people usually ask me how to get into vending. Um, I have to acknowledge my own privilege when it comes to this. I am a entrepreneur true and true. I have been running my own businesses since I've been capable of running my own businesses in teenage years. I also have uh, a master's degree in business and half of a doctorate in business, and so I am prepared for this. I live a life where I can put 40 to 50 hours of time into crafting. I don't have children. I um, don't have any disabilities that affect my crafting ability, and so it's not helpful for anyone to compare their journey to mine. Um, Everybody lives their own life, and there are lots of things that can get in the way. And so, just don't compare yourself to others. But as far as
Yeah.
getting into vending, um, I would say find your niche, find the one thing that nobody else makes, and just keep cranking it out. And eventually, you will uh, build a product that people really like and that you're known for, and people will seek you out for it, and you'll keep growing. Do it in your free time. Eventually, maybe it'll become something big enough. Maybe you'll be able to do a booth. I really liked the way that Winter's Edge set up, where you just basically gave people tables and let them vend in the dining hall, and that was really awesome. That was really friendly to people that don't have the big setups, and I wish more kingdoms did that. Um, but and also don't be discouraged if you don't sell anything your first event. I didn't sell anything my first event either.
I did happen to notice that when you arrived fairly early at Coro, and then you were setting up outside, and I was like, well, that's rude. Why weren't you offered a spot inside? Like, was that done on purpose, or did you intentionally stay out there?
Being in a cafeteria with a bunch of people talking is an absolute sensory nightmare, and I did not want to sit there for 48 hours. I also like sitting outside and watching battle games. Being closer um, to my desired market always works better because people see what I'm selling from the battlefield and think about. They actually wanted to set me up on the battlefield, and I went, I don't want to get hit by arrows, and asked for that specific spot that you saw me at.
Fair enough. I just wanted to make sure that you weren't denied a spot inside.
No, 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 no. Your
Well,
market crat was wonderful.
good. I'm very glad to hear. Um, well, do we want to open it up for questions now that we are winding down and you have imparted some of your wisdom? So if anyone has a question for Cade, you can either put it in the chat or use the stage feature to raise your hand, and I can give you speaking privileges to ask your question with your voice.
You're gonna make me go dig
Sparkles is
that picture
saying,
out.
yeah, show us Haz's cloak.
I can pull this up while other people are typing. Da, da,
Yes, there's
da.
actually another question. Tinker of the Black Sands is asking about advice on the foam to use between the blunt and the ball on arrows.
Um, so you want 4 pound or denser. Um, Puzzle mat is 4 pound. Camp pad is usually like 1 to 2 pound. So you can either get puzzle mat and then put 2 layers of puzzle mat, 'cause most puzzle mats usually about half an inch. Or what I do is I buy foam by the sheet. I buy 4 pound density foam and then cut it into pucks. Um, but yeah, Upgrading to puzzle mat. I like the Harbor Freight puzzle mat because it doesn't have such the big like diamond texture. It has like little textures on it, and it adheres much better. Any puzzle mat will do. I'm just very particular about my own. I haven't done any plastic dip. It's on my to-do list. Um, I want to. I know you've asked me about those before. I haven't plastic dipped any magic stabs. I wasn't convinced that they were gonna stick around. They were in beta test, and then they got voted in, and I'm not convinced they're gonna stay exactly the way they are. Um, I think they're a bit ambiguous in the way that you make them. I think there's too much crossover between weave stabs, and then some of them will look like double-ended grates. Um, it needs some reworking, I think. Whether it'll get reworking, who knows?
Now, when you, with your answer there, did you mean you haven't done like any plastidip work on anything at all, or just with Infina's question about magic staves in particular?
I did I remember doing a singular plastidip project and it going horribly because I refused to watch a YouTube video on how to do it. Um, so I have done it once. I have not done any staves. I think I did a very tiny shield.
Okay, but you have done something, so that's a start.
This was a cloak I made for someone who's a jester. Sparkles wanted to see it, and I put bells on it. It wasn't cold enough at that event to for them to wear it, but if you heard anyone at night just like faintly jingling, that was my friend who came with me to the event. I do calculations based off of how much time it takes me and cost of materials. Um, I have a very elaborate spreadsheet that I can put in how much time I spent on my sewing machine, how much time I put on a power tool, and it allows me to account for, uh, depreciation or the fact that every 100 hours I have to send my sewing machine in for a $150 tune-up. And it poops out a number based off of how much money I want to make per hour. It tells me what price. For the balls for my arrows, it's actually what my first choice is not sold anymore because of tariffs. They were something I think that came from China. But any sort of 3-inch emoji or 3-inch stress ball you can usually use for the tips of your arrows. I don't like gamma balls. I think they're a little bit too tough, but gamma balls are fine. I do the cross gaming style arrows, which is I think it's like 4 inches of like the squishy foam. Yeah, and if you have more questions about arrows, you're welcome to message me, and I can send you things, and I can send you product links. I have considered throws with a squeaker. I made a sword that had one in the handle because so many people try to get a sword with a squeaker in the stab tip, and so I figured I could fool people into thinking it was in the stab tip by putting it in the handle, and so I would squeeze it when I stabbed. I couldn't figure out how to get it right, but it worked once.
It worked once.
Yes.
Well, do we have any other questions for Cade?
Yeah, and anyone's welcome to send me a message. I'm on Discord. I'm also on Facebook under the same name. We probably have mutual friends. That's an easy way to find me. You're welcome to message me about anything. I will do my best to answer your question or find you someone that can answer it.
Yes, and while I'm thinking of it, I will uh, plug your card that I have had sitting on my desk. Uh,
I am going to try
with
to fight
with
in the Soul Weaver. We will see. Yeah, that's my link tree. It has a link to my Facebook, my Discord, the Google Slides that I keep an updated product list of what I'm selling. Um, I don't remember what else I have on there. Oh, all the ways you can pay me. That's important.
yes, money is good. Money is
Yes.
good. Also, since AmpGuard ultimately is a volunteer run sort of organization, time is also good.
Yeah, happy to help, happy to talk to people, happy to answer questions.
Yes, absolutely. At this point, it looks like we are winding down, so I will say it has been an absolute pleasure getting to talk to you this evening. Thank you so much for reaching out to me first of all people, because I was just kind of getting into my regent duties and figuring out like, oh, what's a scribal guild? What do I have to do with all this? Oh my gosh. And then you come out of the blue with, hey, weren't you the person that asked to talk? And I was like, yes. So that was one less thing that I had to fret about. So again, thank you so much for your time, and everyone. Cade Lunaris uh, is in our Discord, so please contact them with all of your uh, questions about anything you've heard here tonight, or uh, it'd probably be even better if you wanted to buy something. So, but by all means, that's why I plugged the link tree. But thank you so much again, and thank all of you for coming. Make sure that you have signed in so that you get your Winter's Edge credits.